There is a particular kind of evidence that has convicted more killers in the last 15 years than almost any other. It is not DNA. It is not fingerprints. It is not eyewitness testimony. It is the search history. The list of things a person typed into a search engine, time-stamped to the second, stored on a server, and recoverable by anyone with a warrant. Because here is the thing about a search engine. It is the one place where people are completely, fatally honest. You lie to your spouse. You lie to your friends. You lie sometimes to yourself. But almost nobody lies to the search bar. It is a private confessional that people treat as if it forgets, when in fact it forgets nothing. This is the story of how search history has repeatedly, devastatingly, exposed people who reported a loved one missing, or dead, or gone, while their own typed words proved they had known exactly what was coming. This is the story of the searches that came too early. Chapter 1, The Beginning. To understand why search history is so powerful in a criminal case, you have to understand what it actually is. Every time you type something into a search engine, that query is recorded. The words, the exact date, the exact time, down to the second. Often the location of the device. Often what you clicked on afterward, and how long you spent there. For most people, this record is meaningless. It is a vast, boring archive of recipe searches and weather checks and questions about why the dishwasher is making that noise. It sits on a server, ignored forever. But in a criminal investigation, that boring archive becomes something else entirely. It becomes a timeline of a person's mind. A record not just of what they did, but of what they were thinking about, and crucially, when they were thinking about it. And the when is what destroys people. Consider the logic. If a woman goes missing on a Saturday, and her husband reports her missing on Saturday night, and investigators later find that on the previous Tuesday he searched detailed questions about how a body decomposes, or how long it takes someone to die from a particular method, or how to clean a specific kind of evidence, then the husband has a problem that no lawyer on earth can fully solve. Because you cannot search for the solution to a problem before the problem exists. An innocent husband on Tuesday does not research the mechanics of death. He has no reason to. The very existence of those searches at that time proves foreknowledge. It proves that days before he claimed to discover a tragedy, he was already studying it. This pattern has appeared in case after case after case. It has become one of the most reliable red flags in modern homicide investigation. And it has convicted people who did everything else right, who cleaned the scene, who invented the alibi, who performed the grief flawlessly on camera, but who forgot the one witness they carried in their own pocket. Chapter 2, The Betrayal. Let me describe the archetype of this kind of case, drawn from the patterns that have recurred across many real prosecutions. A man reports his wife missing. He is distraught. He gives interviews. He pleads with the public. He organizes searches. He prints flyers. He is, to all appearances, a devastated husband desperate to find the woman he loves. The community rallies around him. People bring food. Neighbors join search parties. The story leads the local news. And the husband is at the center of it, grieving publicly, a portrait of anguish. Investigators, however, do something the public does not see. They begin quietly to build a timeline. And a modern timeline is not just where a person was, it is what a person searched. They obtain a warrant for his devices and his accounts. And they go through his search history in the days and weeks before his wife vanished. And there, in the record, they find the searches. The searches that no grieving husband should have made. Questions about the human body. Questions about specific methods. Questions about disposal, or concealment, or timelines of decomposition. Questions about the very thing he claimed to have no knowledge of. And every one of those searches carries a timestamp that predates his wife's disappearance. The betrayal here is not just of the victim. It is a self-betrayal. The killer, in a private moment he assumed was truly private, typed his intentions into a machine. He confessed to the future. And the machine kept the confession, dated and preserved, waiting for the day someone would come looking. The public sees a grieving husband. The search history sees a man who was researching a murder before anyone knew a murder would happen. Chapter 3. The decision. The investigative decision at the heart of these cases is deceptively simple. Pull the search history and read it in order of time. But executing that decision well requires enormous discipline, because the defense will fight every inch of it. First, investigators must establish that the searches came from the suspect, and not someone else using a shared device. This is why they cross-reference. Was the phone locked with his fingerprint or face? Was he the only one home at the timestamp of the search? Do other simultaneous activities, messages sent, apps opened, locations recorded, place him personally on the device at that exact moment? A good investigator builds a wall of corroboration around each critical search, so that the defense cannot simply claim someone else typed it. Second, they must establish meaning. A single ambiguous search proves little. Anyone might, out of morbid curiosity or in response to a news story, search something dark once. What convicts is the pattern, the cluster, the progression, a series of searches that build on each other, that refine a method, that return again and again to the same terrible subject, in the specific days leading up to the event. Third, they must nail the timing. The entire power of search evidence lies in the timestamp. A search made after a disappearance might be explained as a panicked husband trying to understand what happened. A search made before is a different animal entirely. It is premeditation, rendered in the person's own words, on a clock no one can argue with. Investigators who handle these cases learn to lay the searches out on a timeline alongside every other known event. The last confirmed sighting of the victim, the reported time of disappearance, the 911 call, the interviews, and woven through it all, in red, the searches, appearing exactly where an innocent explanation cannot reach them. When that timeline is complete, it tells a story more damning than almost any human witness could, because it is the story the killer told himself, in private, before he told the world a different one. Chapter 4. The evidence. What makes search history so uniquely powerful as evidence is a combination of properties that no other kind of evidence possesses all at once. It is precise, not approximate, not remembered, not reconstructed, precise to the second, preserved exactly as it occurred. It is honest. People search their true thoughts. The search bar is where the mask comes off. A person who is carefully lying to everyone in their life will still type their real question into a search engine, because they have forgotten it is listening, and because in that moment they genuinely need the answer. It is durable. It sits on servers, backed up, retained according to policies most users never read. Deleting it from your own device often does not delete it from the company's records. People who frantically clear their browser history after the fact frequently discover that the record survived them entirely. And it is chronological. This is the killing property. Every search is a dated entry in a diary the person did not know they were keeping. And that diary can be read in order, revealing not just what someone knew, but the exact moment they came to know it. Put these properties together, and you have something close to a machine that reads intent. Not perfectly. Search evidence must always be interpreted, contextualized, corroborated. But in case after case, when a suspect's search history is laid bare, it reveals a mind that was planning, researching, and preparing, days or weeks before the event they later claimed took them by surprise. There is a reason investigators now treat digital forensics as a first step, not a last resort. The phone in the suspect's pocket, the laptop on the suspect's desk, these have become the most reliable witnesses in the building. They were present for everything. They recorded everything. And they have no reason to protect anyone. The killer performs grief for the cameras. The search history plays back what he was actually thinking the week before. And juries, increasingly, understand exactly what they are looking at. Chapter 5. The justice. The justice in these cases has a particular quality that I find worth dwelling on. It is the justice of self-incrimination, but not the dramatic kind, not a confession wrung out in an interrogation room. It is quieter and more inevitable than that. It is the slow realization in a courtroom that the defendant convicted himself long ago, Alone, in a private moment, typing a question into a glowing screen. There is no one doing it. That is the terrible finality of it, from the defendant's perspective. A confession can be recanted. A witness can be discredited. An eyewitness can be shown to be mistaken. But a time-stamped search, corroborated and authenticated, simply sits there, unchangeable, saying, "On this date, at this time, you asked this question." And no amount of testimony can make the search unhappen. For the families of victims, this kind of evidence offers something precious and rare: certainty. So many homicide cases live in ambiguity, in reasonable doubt, in the agonizing space where a family believes they know what happened but cannot prove it. Search evidence, when it exists, can collapse that ambiguity. It can transform a suspicion into a documented fact. It can give a grieving family the one thing they most desperately need: to know beyond argument what happened to the person they lost. And for the rest of us, these cases carry a lesson that goes beyond crime. We have all internalized, on some level, the idea that our private thoughts are private, that what we search, what we wonder, what we type into a machine at 2 in the morning, disappears into some harmless void. It does not. It is kept. All of it. For the innocent, this is mostly harmless. A vast dull record of ordinary curiosity that will never matter to anyone. But it is worth understanding the world as it actually is. You are keeping a diary you did not intend to keep. It is more honest than any diary you would write on purpose. And under the right legal circumstances, it can be read by others. The killers in these cases were undone by a simple failure of imagination. They could imagine deceiving the people around them. They could imagine cleaning a scene, and inventing an alibi and performing grief. What they could not imagine was that the machine in their hand was a witness, patient, precise, and utterly incapable of being fooled by the performance everyone else believed. They typed their intentions into the one place that never forgets. And when the investigators came looking, the truth was waiting exactly where they had left it. Dated, time-stamped, undeniable. In their own words. Thank you for being here for this story. New story every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If it made you think about the quiet record all of us are constantly creating, share it with someone. It is a truth worth understanding. We will see you in the next one. Let me take you deeper into how these cases actually unfold, because the mechanics reveal something profound about the age we live in. Consider the psychology first. Why do people do it? Why would anyone planning something terrible leave a trail of searches that will obviously convict them? The answer is that they do not experience it as leaving a trail. In the moment, a search feels like the most private act imaginable. You are alone. It is just you and the screen. No one is watching. No one is listening. The words you type feel like thoughts, and thoughts feel free and consequenceless. The search bar has a way of disarming people, of coaxing out their truest and darkest questions, precisely because it feels like talking to no one. This is the trap. The search bar feels like the inside of your own head. But it is not. It is a microphone into a corporation's permanent records. The intimacy is an illusion, and it is a lethal one. There is also the practical dimension. A person planning to harm someone genuinely needs information they do not have. How does this substance work? How long does that take? What happens to a body under these conditions? How do investigators detect that method? These are not idle curiosities. They are operational questions, and the planner needs real answers. So they search. They cannot help it. The plan requires knowledge, and knowledge, in the modern world, comes from the search bar. The very competence of the planning creates the evidence that destroys it. Now consider the investigator's craft, because it is more subtle than simply reading a list. A skilled digital forensics examiner does not just recover searches. They reconstruct sessions. They can often see the entire arc of a person's activity in a sitting. The search, the results page, which link was clicked, how long was spent reading, what was searched next, how the queries evolved and sharpened. They can watch, in reconstructed form, a mind moving through a problem. They can see curiosity harden into planning. They can see a vague question become a specific method. They also look for the tells of consciousness of guilt. The search is about whether phones can be tracked. The search is about how long search history is kept. The search is about deleting data, or defeating forensics, or what police can and cannot recover. These meta-searches are devastating because they prove the person knew they were creating evidence and tried to understand how to hide it. You cannot claim innocent curiosity when you also searched how to make the curiosity disappear. And then there is the timeline reconstruction, which is where cases are won. The examiner places every recovered search against the known events. And they look for the impossible ones. The searches that only make sense if the person already knew what was going to happen. The search about a missing person, made before the person was reported missing. The search about a cause of death, made before the death. The search about an inheritance or a life insurance policy, made in the same window as searches about methods of harm. Each of these, alone, might have an innocent explanation. Together, in sequence, dated and corroborated, they form a portrait that no jury can unsee. I want to address something important here, in fairness, because these cases are not simple, and honesty requires acknowledging the complications. Search evidence can be misread. Context matters enormously. A person who searches something dark may have done so for a legitimate reason. A writer researching a novel, a nurse studying for an exam, a person reacting to something they saw in the news. The prosecution's burden is to show that the innocent explanations do not fit, that the pattern and timing and corroboration rule them out. And defense attorneys rightly probe every one of these searches, demanding to know whether it truly means what the prosecution claims. This is as it should be. Search evidence is powerful precisely because it is so damning, and that power demands scrutiny. The goal is never to convict someone because they typed a dark question once. The goal is to recognize when a person's own documented thoughts, in pattern and in time, reveal a knowledge they could not innocently have possessed. When that threshold is genuinely met, when the searches are numerous, specific, corroborated, and impossibly timed, the evidence approaches something close to certainty. It is the closest thing modern investigation has to a window into premeditation itself. And that brings us to the largest truth of all. For most of human history, the interior of a person's mind was unreachable. What someone thought, planned, wondered, or intended in private was locked away, accessible to no one, provable by no one. The perfect crime, in theory, was possible precisely because intention left no trace. A person could plan in the silence of their own skull, and no investigator could ever enter it. That world is gone. We have externalized our minds. We think out loud, into machines all day long. Our questions, our fears, our curiosities, our intentions. We type them into devices that remember everything and forget nothing. The interior of the mind now has a written record, time-stamped and stored. For the innocent, this is merely strange, a vast archive of harmless curiosity that will never matter. For the guilty, it is the end of a very old kind of safety. The privacy of the planning mind, which shielded killers for all of human history, has been quietly abolished by a search bar that feels private and is not. The people undone by their search history were not caught by a witness, or a fingerprint, or a confession. They were caught by themselves. By the honest, private, permanent record of what they wanted to know. In the days before anyone else knew to ask, they typed the truth into the dark. And the dark, it turned out, was keeping notes. Before we close, I want to turn this around, because so far this has been a story about the guilty, and there is an equally important story about the innocent. The same search history that convicts killers has freed people who were wrongly accused. Consider it. A person is accused of a crime. In the old world, they had only their word and the testimony of others to defend themselves. But in the modern world, their digital life can speak for them. Their searches at the relevant time show ordinary, innocent activity. Checking sports scores, looking up a recipe, researching a vacation. Their location data places them elsewhere. Their messages show them living a normal life at the moment they were supposedly committing a crime. The record that dooms the guilty exonerates the innocent, because it belongs to neither. It simply reports the truth. And the truth for an innocent person is the best possible defense. This is worth holding on to, because it is easy to hear these stories and feel only unease. The sense of being watched, recorded, exposed. That unease is legitimate. But there is another side. We live in the first era in human history where it is genuinely difficult to frame an innocent person for a crime they can prove, through their own digital trail, they did not commit. Where a false accusation can be dismantled by the quiet, incorruptible record of an ordinary day. The machine does not take sides. That is the whole point. It convicts the husband who researched his wife's death, and it frees the man whose search history shows he spent that afternoon shopping for his daughter's birthday. It serves only the record. And the record, more often than not, serves the truth. So here is where I want to leave you. Be aware of the diary you are keeping. Not fearful, aware. Understand that your searches are honest in a way you may not fully realize, and permanent in a way you may not expect. For the vast majority of people, this will never matter, because the vast majority of people have nothing in that record but the ordinary texture of a decent life. But understand the deeper meaning of these cases. They mark a turning point in the very possibility of getting away with something. The private planning mind, the last refuge of the person plotting harm, has been opened, not by surveillance imposed from above, but by our own habit of thinking out loud into machines that remember. The killers in these cases believed they were alone with their thoughts. They were alone with a witness. The most honest witness there is. The one that records not what you did, but what you wanted to know in the moment before you did it. They asked the question, and the answer, in the end, was them. Thank you for listening to all of it. Remember the people at the heart of these cases. The victims were real, and they deserved far better than what happened to them. New story every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We will see you in the next one. One last practical reflection, because I never want to leave you only with unease. If these stories have made you think about your own digital footprint, that is healthy. Here is what to actually do with that thought. Understand that your search history exists, that it is retained, and that you have some control over it. Every major platform allows you to review your history, to delete it, and to set it to auto-delete after a chosen period. Most people have never once looked. Take the time to look. Decide consciously how much of your record you wish to keep. But understand also that deletion is not magic. Data is often retained by companies even after you remove it from your own view. According to policies and legal requirements most users never read. The lesson of these cases is not that you can reliably erase your trail. The lesson is that the trail exists, that it is honest, and that it is far more permanent than it feels in the private moment of typing. For the innocent, none of this should cause fear. Your ordinary record is your friend. It is the thing that can prove where you were and what you were doing when it matters. Live your life. Search your questions. The archive of a decent person is nothing but the ordinary texture of being human. The reckoning in these cases falls only on those who used that private confessional to plan harm, and then discovered, too late, that it had been writing everything down. The search bar feels like a whisper into the void. It is not a whisper. It is a statement for the record. And the record lasts. Thank you for being here.